On the heels of announcing her fall economic statement, Finance Minister of Canada, Chrystia Freeland, says that Canada is not broken. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me is Warren Kinsella. Warren, this, of course, is in response to what the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, who is, being charitable here, trouncing the Liberals in the public opinion polls. But Poilievre has said, these are his words, that it just seems that everything around us is broken. And obviously, Freeland takes umbrage with that. What say you?
Well, I mean, you got two buttons in a campaign, as you know, that you got to press. You got the hope button, you got the fear button. And, I think she thinks that she's team hope. But the problem the problem the Trudeau Liberals have got is people just don't think that. They're in sync with what Poilievre thinks. Personally, I don't think the country's broken. I think the politics are broken as a consequence of the way the Trudeau guys have governed this country for the past almost decade. So he's right on that score, and he's in sync with public opinion, and the polling all shows it. As many as 15 points ahead. It looks like, if you look at the seat projections, and they can be kind of voodoo science, but he may get 3 times as many seats as the Liberals if these polls hold up. So yeah, I think that most Canadians do feel that way. They're pretty pessimistic right now, but that creates an obligation on Poilievre as we get closer to the election to offer some hope to people. And I think he's starting to do that.
That's always the challenge with an opposition leader, is you point out all the things that the government's doing wrong, and it doesn't really lend itself to being very positive. But one thing I will say about what Poilievre's team, and certainly he himself, has done, he's traveling the country, he's meeting directly with Canadians, he's putting out, because you and I know part of the new campaign style is to go over the heads of the mainstream media and put your own campaign ads out there and your own narrative out there. It appears that he's trying to give that sense of hope. You can even sense a tone change a bit in the House of Commons. It's not as vitriolic in terms of him going after Trudeau. But I'm wondering, when someone as senior as Chrystia Freeland comes out and says we're not broken, does that have an impact? Does that matter? Do Canadians care? Because it's not what they feel.
No, it sounds like she's trying to convince herself. She knows she's got a big economic problem, which is we're, spending more on servicing the debt than we're spending on healthcare now, as our newspaper reported this week. But she's got a political problem, which is that she's super unpopular. Her boss is super unpopular, and they've got no way out. Like, at this point, the Liberals are looking at a save the furniture exercise, where if an election is held anytime soon, they're going to be wiped out. It'll be like Turner in '84 or Campbell in '93, where they're left with a precious few number of seats. So, I almost feel a bit of sympathy for her, but their problem is not Pierre Poilievre per se. Their problem is the people they see in the bathroom mirror every morning. Like, people are fed up with them. They've been there for a decade, and they just want to have a change, and they're prepared to even embrace Poilievre, even if they've got some concerns or misgivings about Poilievre.
It's a long list, Warren, that we could look at of things that aren't working in this country, not the least of which millions of Canadians cannot get a family doctor. Millions of Canadians are not going to be able to afford to remortgage their homes. There's the so-called mortgage cliff that's coming in the next year or so. The Trudeau Liberals have come out with this fall economic statement, spending billions more, eye-watering sums of money more. A recent Scotiabank report said that the government spending alone has contributed to the inflation that Canadians are facing. But we have a $40 billion deficit just this year alone, which will come down over the next 5 years. But that said, again, it comes back to really what is the feeling that Canadians have on the ground of their groceries, their gas bill, their tax bills. There's very little left to enjoy, to appreciate being in this country and spending. And do they punish the Liberals for that come the next election?
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, the way people look at politics, like right now, the Middle East, you and I and the newspaper you lead, we're spending a lot of time talking about the terrible events that have taken place in Israel since October 7th. And people are preoccupied with that. But the thing they're mostly preoccupied with is their pocketbook. right? How much do they have in their wallet at the end of the month? And that's where Poilievre is. You know, he is focused laser-like on cost of living and affordability and all that nuts and bolts stuff that people are most concerned about. Because if you talk to people, and you know, all of us have friends, we have colleagues in the business community, people are hurting, like they really, really are. And it's not just housing, it's all of it. You know, filling up the tank on your vehicle, putting bread on the table for the kids. It's really, really tough right now. And that is exactly where Poilievre is and where he needs to be. Now, as I said a minute ago, he's going to have to start coming up with some prescriptions for what he would do differently, you know, the hope stuff, but he doesn't have to do that right now. You know, when I worked for Mr. Chrétien, as you know, here I'm going to do my Chrétien imitation for you. I'd say to him, you know, why don't we say this, that, and the other thing? He'd say, young man, our job is to oppose. So we're going to oppose, you know, we'll propose when we get closer to the election. Oh, I apologize for my lousy Chrétien impersonation, but yet that's your job. And that's what Poilievre is doing. He is supposed to be negative. He is supposed to be critical of the government, and he's doing that right. As we get closer to the election, about a year from now, he needs to be proposing some good ideas. And I suspect with the team he's got around him, he's going to do that.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Is Canada broken? Go to theTorontoSun.com and hit that subscribe button. You're going to find commentary like this and others you will not find anywhere else.